Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 161 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekly edition and I'm standing by my favorite motorcycle. I bet you think this video is going to be about this guy again. Well, you're wrong. We're going to do something different today, and if you want to see what that is, you know what to do. All you have to do is stay tuned. Well, no, it's not about my motorcycle again. I don't know, those videos just don't do all that well. But like I said, when I introduced this channel a year and a half ago, it's about what I do. And sometimes it's in the shop here, sometimes it's working on a bike, sometimes it's working on my yard, sometimes it's mowing the grass and blowing the snow. So there's lots of different things, and hopefully that's something that many of you are looking for. But anyway, if you haven't guessed already, today's video is going to be about my newly acquired sharpening or planer blade sharpening setup. I've been playing with it a little bit, and the video that I'm going to shoot for you today is very much a learning video. Once I've sharpened quite a few things with it, I might come back and make another one, because I am learning with every knife I put in. What I did today is I started with, I have a bunch of blank or extra planer blades here. They're quite thick and quite a steep angle on them. So I took one of those and played with that a little bit, learned a few things, watched a couple videos, learned a few more things. The videos brought up questions that I, for a large part, solved on my own here. And the things that I learned are what I'm going to show you in the video today. Now, it's getting to the point, well, as I'm shooting this, we're in the last week of July. So if I'm going to be teaching students again, that means that I'm going to be, probably September, October, starting with kids in here again. And that means I need my equipment up and running. And my thickness planer had a nasty habit there. We must have got a little rock or something on a board that went through, and both knives had a little divot on each knife, and that left a line in your wood when you planed it. So what I did is I took the knives out of my Makita 2040, get the number right, and it only has two knives. So in case you're wondering why I'm only doing two. And to learn and practice, I used one extra knife, like I said, and I've sharpened one knife of my 2020 blades or 2040 blades. So what I'm hoping to do is sharpen the second one for you and kind of show you what this machine is like. And I've also learned of some of its, what I think are limitations as well. So yeah, bear with me through this. This is the learning episode, and who knows, maybe later on we'll shoot another one when I'm a pro and doing it right. Anyway, so we'll move on when we're back with other stuff. Boy, that was awkward. Before you clamp your planer knife in the jig and start sharpening it, there's a few things I think are really important to do first. First of all, you want the planer knife that you're sharpening to be completely clean. I find that I think dirt is probably one of your biggest enemies. So I'm just going to take some brake cleaner and spray this. Ooh, that's nice and messy. Okay, and watch if you don't cut yourself. It's easy to do. I've cut myself installing planer blades in the past. This way your stone doesn't get gummed up as much, in my opinion. Get all the pitch and everything off of the edge you're going to sharpen. Yeah, and there's that. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's pretty small. But there's that little ripple, and that was in both knives, and it left a mark on the blades. Okay, so this knife is clean enough for what I'm going to do. We'll let the brake clean evaporate off of it. The next thing that is important to do, and I don't like the method that I'm going to be using here as one of these truing stones. I think you should true up the grinding surface or the grinding wheel every time you do this. So, well, maybe not every time, but yeah, every time. So I'm going to do that quickly. Like I say, this is not my preferred method. This is what came with the kit, so I'm using it as is, but I think I'll find another way to do this, a better way. Okay, but here we go. Watch when you do this. I think it's a good idea to put this stone against the guard here so it doesn't go shooting all over the place on you. Okay, let's make some dust. Like I say, not my preferred way of doing this. It's messy, and I don't think it does a particularly good job. Yeah, there's a bit of a bounce in there. Yeah, there's a bit of a bounce in that wheel. I'm going to go over it one more time. Whew. Should maybe have a mask on for this. I notice this when I'm just starting to grind that it's bouncing a bit. We'll see how it does with a knife. Remember, this is the learning video. Okay, so I've got some of the preliminary work done. So I've cleaned the stone and cleaned the knife, and now I need to put the knife in the holder. And I'm going to start setting up here, but I am going to take a little bit of a break and maybe move the camera a bit so you can see this a little bit better, because I think this may not show up with me working here like this. Anyway, let's take a look at it. We'll be back in a second. All right, well, you won't see too much of me, but that's okay. I don't need to be seen in this. Now, I'm just going to spin this around. So these screws here, or thumb or hand wheels, is what clamps the knife into the jig. Here, let's take it apart I don't need to take it apart to put the knife in, but I just want to show you what's there. I should have thought of this before. And this will take a little time to put back together after. Okay, so the knife sits here, and you'll notice that these bolts here, or hand wheels, I guess I'll call them, they are what adjust the knife. So you would put the knife in, bevel edge down, and this is a 15 3/4 inch knife, and it butts up against those, and then I tighten this back on. Now, you wouldn't have to remove this to put the knife in. You can just loosen it, slide it in. Once you have these set. Now, I spent a little bit of time off camera setting that up, and there's one video that I watched that kind of helped a little bit. He suggested having the knife reveal about 3/8 of an inch. And when I looked at that on my machine, I decided to go a little bit more and have this sticking out a 1/2 inch on the long side of the bevel. So that's what I did, and who knows, like I said, this is the learning video. I may change that, but for sharpening one knife, it worked pretty good. So that sits in there like that, and then this thing goes on top of it and holds the knife in. Now, I'm just going to get this lined up here. And like I say, you don't need to take this off every time. Oh, come on. Now, to get that first one started is always a little bit of a problem. Well, that's okay. That's it. And we'll do one at the other end here. Hopefully, I'm not blocking the shot too badly. Well, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, here I can see this one. Take the path of least resistance. And now see if I can get this one in. Oh, it moves quite a bit yet. Well, come on. There we go. Yeah, it just takes, so like I said, don't remove that bar every time you put a knife in. Just loosen it. Once you have your adjusters correct, then it's just simply a matter of loosening these and sliding the knife in. Because this is a bit of a pain. Okay, now what I did when I adjusted these to the right place, I took a 10mm wrench and adjusted these screws to lock everything so it doesn't vibrate loose. I was surprised there is a fair level of vibration in this. Okay, that should slide over. We're going to loosen these all, because I just want to show you what I did here. So now this caliper has changed just a wee little bit. It's there's a 1/2 inch, and from the top to here, to this edge here, ouch, that hurt. It's 1/2 inch. Now, these measurements are fussy. The better job you do getting this set up properly, like tight, yeah, don't just push on it with bare fingers. Like have the knife in tight, and then have these things tightened properly. There we go, that feels pretty good. Now you don't have to tighten all of them, but I found that if I didn't tighten these ones that weren't used, they really vibrated. So, and that's all nice and tight. Okay, so now we've got the knife properly installed. I'm just going to double check it. Yep, that looks good. It's actually gone down a little bit. I think it's probably more important that the measurement's the same than it's exactly a 1/2 inch. Like mine says 0.48 now, 0.480. So that's changed a little bit. So, okay, now we've got the knife mounted in the carriage. We have the bevel down, but I'm going to use one more little trick that I learned from when I sharpen turning tools. And I'm going to cover the edge with marker. That way I can see what I'm doing. Now this was especially helpful when I did the first blade for setup. Okay, it doesn't take that long. But now we've got basically some um, a way of marking or seeing where the surface grinder is actually grinding. So whether I have the angles and everything set correctly. So we're going to throw that aside. And when we come back, I'm going to show you how I set this thing up. All right, we're going to start off looking at the top of the machine here. And what's important is all the little adjustments that there are on here. And it's important that before you sharpen, you make sure that everything is set correctly. Since this was a used machine, I thought it really important to go through everything. So on the top here, what I did is I measured from here to here, because that adjusts as well. You can slide this whole carriage back and forth. Now, I don't know what the optimal setting is for it, but right now, I think the distance from the corner here to here, maybe not the most accurate way to measure it, I'm not sure, but that's what I did. That is 8 inches. Well, 7 and 15 sixteenths. But anyway, 8 inches, close enough. The other adjustment you have here is the raising and lowering hand wheel. This raises the stone and lowers it. So when you're starting to sharpen, it's a good idea, I think, to have everything set up and then carefully lift the stone till it makes contact. Now, I think this whole thing is a little bit wiggly. Like, it doesn't look it now, but when you have a knife on here, and especially if the knife maybe wasn't sharpened perfectly before. Now, I would think that these knives were really well sharpened because I took them to a place in Saskatoon and had them sharpened. But I'm not sure how they bolt into their holder. If all they're doing is lining it up and making the edge sharp, great, that's fine. You can install that in your thickness planer, adjust the knives right, it works. But in here, you're indexing off the back of the cutter. So that means the cutter has to be, those edges have to be parallel. So sometimes I found that mine wasn't. So anyway, the first blade, I should say, wasn't. So I guess what we'll do is we'll just see what happens. Like I said, we're learning. Okay, so let's take you to some of the other measurements here. Let's see if I can lower you enough to do this without pausing the video here. All right, we're back. Okay, this is the angle adjustment. So I couldn't read it here properly, but I measured the angle on my first blade and it was 35 degrees. So I set this to 35 degrees and locked it. Now, these little locks here are, to me, a bit of a pain because they're hard to get tight. And it moves this back and forth and also, I think, acts as the pivot for this. So everything kind of felt a little wishy-washy at first. And I think, this maybe isn't the highest quality machine out there, but we're going to make it work. On the other side, the adjuster that locks the angle in place, see if I can scooch you around, is another one of those little adjusters. And they're hard to get tight enough. And you really have to watch when you're sharpening that you're not pushing on things. I have a problem with that. But anyway, so there are the adjustments. I'm not sure what this thing does. Here, let's show you that. I haven't figured that out yet. To me, it looks like a lock to lock the height, but I need the height to move. So I'm not sure. I'll figure that out, and when I do, I'll let you know. Well, okay, I think I've shown you enough of this. Let's make some sparks. All right, well, I put the carriage back onto the machine and I raised the stone until it's maybe about a 16th from touching. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the machine on, and I'm going to slowly raise the wheel, the grinding surface, until it touches this. Now, there are a few things you need to be aware of. This is a sparks process, so there are going to be sparks generated from this. And you need to make sure that you have a place in your shop that you're not going to light anything else on fire. And for me, that's a big concern because I usually tend to clean up just where the camera's shooting. So, yeah, it's a bit of a mess in here. The other thing is you really want to protect your eyes. This is, you know, I'm fairly close. Maybe I should have this lower. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out. But I like this working height too. So I can move this back and forth. Now, yeah, and that's all you do. It seems to grind well both ways, but the wheel is spinning this way, and it wants to push sometimes if you're taking a little bit too much, if you've got the wheel set a bit too high. So the key is to go slow. Now, I'm hoping I can do that because I'm still getting used to this machine, and sometimes it does things that I don't want it to do, but I'm learning. Okay, let's quit talking, turn the machine on, and get started. Ooh, see, I'm a little hot. Okay, I didn't edit that out because, you know, things happen. I'm not sure. I'm wondering if oh, the wheel sure looks true. Maybe I just didn't look correctly and had it set a bit too high. And you saw how it wanted to push it to the right. Well, my right, okay, this way. So, okay, I lowered it a bit. We're going to start it again and see if we can sharpen. Okay, now I'm going, ooh. See, this end doesn't want to sharpen as good. I'm wondering if I have settings correct. Now, the other thing it could be is the blade not perfectly parallel front to back. That is another possibility. And I didn't measure this one before I clamped it in, so that's a mistake on my part. And you have to watch, because see, I can push, and that's not good. So you got to watch your pressure and basically let things happen the way they happen. Now I'm going to check again. So my angle looks pretty good. The marker's coming off more at this end than at that end, but I think that's just a little bit of a problem with the knife, quite possibly. And that I should have checked. Okay, I'm going to give it a little more bite. Okay, I'm just going to keep checking. The first half looks really good. The second half isn't doing a whole lot yet. And that could be that this thing is a little out. So I'll have to look at that yet. Now it's starting to cut the whole length of the knife. That actually is starting to look better. I'm not sure exactly what's happening here, but I'm just going to keep going. Yeah, in the second half, it's not quite cutting to the tip yet. That having that marker on there is, to me, invaluable. It really helps. Okay, it's coming. Oh, looks nice and straight too. I'd like to take a little more off of this edge. It's not quite where I want it yet. Yeah, I still got a little bit of marker on that edge right there. I would like that to be gone. Oh, and then I burned it. I'm going a little bit too slow. But I got rid of the marker. uh, Making things blue doesn't bother me that much. High-speed steel, it's the point at which it would lose its temper is so much higher than the heat created on here that, yeah, it'll turn blue, but you just clean the blue off and it's all good. At least that's what I've been taught. Well, I think we're going to call that good. See if I can bring you in here and get you to take a look. It's not perfect, but it looks like, I hope you can see that. To me, what it looks like is, like, I would like to see the same etch pattern go from here to here, but I don't have that yet. I must be subtly adjusting the angle a little bit or something, but it's got good edge all the way along on the cutting side here for the top half of the cutter. I think I'm going to call that a win today. So, okay, and looking at the wheel, I think I have some problems with the wheel here yet that I'm going to need to fix. Because I'm not going to bring you in to see this, but I can see exactly where it's taking off my marker and steel. So it's really only cutting here and here, which I have to figure out why it's doing that. It could be the stone itself. There could be other reasons. But I think this knife, I'm just going to feel it here, is pretty good. So let's take it out. Now we just have to loosen. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Now you just have to loosen these. And slide it out. Okay. Well, while we're talking about it, I'm just going to see how this is. Okay, we've got, at this end of the knife, it's 1.317. It's perfectly parallel. I can't even believe that myself. I am not making this up. So 1.319, 2000s. In 15 and 3/4 inches, that's pretty good. Okay, I've got to bring you back for one more thing yet. I'm not going to show you putting this in the thickness planer. That might be another video. Okay, so we'll be back in a second here. Well, the one thing that this does is it leaves quite a bit of a wire, if you know what I mean by that. The edge has come out and that metal has kind of folded over a little bit, and I need to hone this now to get rid of it. And I have larger diamond hones somewhere, but I really like these. I keep coming back to them. So yeah, it's a little small for this, but I'm going to just take and clean that wire off. And then I'm going to go this way as well. Okay. Yeah, I've got a little bit of blue at that edge. Okay, that basically took the wire off. And the little notch is completely gone. And I'll use my hand honing technique here, which may be making some of you cringe, but I promise you it's making this edge better. Oh yeah, yep, that's nice. The key is just to index it, to get it touching the whole surface. Okay, and then flip it around. That feels really nice. A little bit more on the back. Sometimes you got to work it back and forth to get it to come off. Be very careful when you're doing this too. This knife is now quite sharp. And I hadn't planned on turning this into a first aid kit video. That feels really nice to me. What I did is I went to my table saw when I was setting up the camera and just put it on like that, and there's no light to be seen. So this is straight. It's parallel. So I suspect I've got a few things right here. Now the little bit of wobble in the wheel, I need to dress that better. And I've never liked these things, but it came with it, so I thought I'd try it. But I think that's done. Now, okay, there's another thing when it comes to thickness planer knives. And this is something I think I read about it once in an old textbook, and it told you how to do it, and it scared the bejeebies out of me. It sounded like you were supposed to run a stone over the knives with them in the jointer and the jointer running. And the process, I believe, was called jointing your thickness planer knives or your planer knives. And my neighbor, who I coffee with every Saturday, is a millwright. And he worked in the lumber mills of BC for many years. And he says, yeah, we did that all the time. So we're going to confer a little bit and see what that's all about. Okay, my elementary understanding of it is what that would do is completely level your cutter head, the cutting surface, and it would provide a secondary bevel. I could be wrong. If you know anything about this process, please leave it in the comments, because I really want to learn how to do that yet. I don't know if it's really necessary for what I do, because these are going to last a while, and now I have a way to do it that I can, like, it'll take me longer to take the knives out and put them back in than to sharpen them. So I would have waited probably 2 weeks. Well, I'm going to take my carbides in and have them sharpened on Thursday. We'll see how long that wait time is. But anyway, I think that's where we bring this video to a close. I'm sure hoping that this was of interest to you. It sure is to me. I like learning about things like this. Sharpening is always one of those things that can be done, and I've never worked with anything like this. So, and I am quite happy with the edge that I have. Now, will it last? Well, if it doesn't, I sharpen them again. Big deal. But I think the key to having knives last is to be careful what you're putting through your thickness planer. Making sure that you're only putting clean, new wood through it. Wood with finishes, wood that's been stored outside and has gravel on it or little crumbly things are really, really bad for the knives. Also, the way you set it. Sometimes I'm guilty of this. I take too much off in one pass, and that heats things up more than is necessary. And the other thing that I always told my kids in school to do is never just keep running everything right down the middle of the thickness planer. Because I would take knives out at school and there would be a noticeable dip in the center. So I would tell them, start on the left side, run a board through, move the next board over one board width, and use the whole cutter head. And once we started doing that, and even these knives, the middle was pretty good. They weren't really whoopy at all. So yeah, if you take care of your thickness planer, maybe you can get a little bit more use out of this. And today I just showed you doing the thickness planer blades. I think my jointer knives are going to come out, but I'm going to get the thickness planer back together first, and then we'll do the jointer. And I don't know if I'm going to bother with plane irons on here. I like my grinding system once I get countertop set up there. That's the way I'm going to continue to do those. Okay? So anyway, with that in mind, yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm looking forward to getting to 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully that'll come, and then we can monetize, and that would help a bit. I know it would. But it's interesting that there are ads on my videos and I'm not monetized, but YouTube has reserved the right to do that. So I don't know, they're making money on my creativity like they need it. Anyway, we will see you on the weekend edition, which I may be hoping to get out in July. It'll be an early weekend edition if I get there. But anyway, take care, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next video.